We spend our entire lives preparing for the future. Yet there is one journey, the most important of all, that no one teaches us how to take: the journey after death. For thousands of years, Tibetan monks have preserved a sacred text, not a religious doctrine, but a roadmap for the soul. It's called the Bardo Realms, known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. But this is not a book about dying. It's a manual for navigating what comes next, because according to this ancient wisdom, death is not an end. It is a passage, a transition through three unseen realms, realms where the mind creates reality, where radiant light reveals truth, where illusions take form, and where every thought shapes what comes next. Some will recognize this path and awaken. Others will be drawn back into the cycle of rebirth. But what if we could prepare for this journey while still alive? What if death was not something to fear, but something to master? Because one day, this journey will come for all of us. And the question is, will you be ready? Part 1. The Tibetan Map of the Afterlife. Most of us think of life and death as two separate things. You're either alive or you're not. But in Tibetan Buddhism, life and death are not opposites. They are part of the same cycle, repeating endlessly. Death is not a final stop. It's a transition. And at the center of this transition is something few truly understand: the Bardo, the in-between state where the soul journeys after leaving the body. But what actually happens in this mysterious space? According to the Bardo Realms, the journey after death is not random. It is not chaos. It follows a precise structure, a three-stage passage that determines what happens next. A journey where each moment offers two possibilities: awakening or reincarnation. 1. Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death. Death begins quietly. One moment you are in your body, the next you are outside of it. There is no pain, no struggle, just a shift. And then, suddenly, light. A brilliant, blinding white light fills everything. But this is not ordinary light. It is the ultimate truth, the purest state of existence, the unfiltered essence of consciousness itself. Those who recognize it, who fully surrender to its presence, achieve instant enlightenment. No more suffering, no rebirth, just liberation. But here's the problem. Most souls don't recognize it. It's too overwhelming, too powerful. The mind, still clinging to its identity, turns away. And the moment it does, the light disappears. The journey continues. 2. Chonyid Bardo, the realm of illusions. Now the soul enters a dreamlike world, a place where thoughts take shape, where reality shifts like flowing water. At first, peaceful deities appear, glowing, radiant beings, welcoming and wise. But soon after, something changes. The wrathful deities emerge, dark, terrifying, cosmic judges that seem to tower over the soul. At this stage, most souls panic. But here's what Tibetan monks understood. None of these beings are real. They are not external gods deciding your fate. They are projections of your own mind. The peaceful deities, they are reflections of your wisdom, your compassion, your highest self. The wrathful deities, they are your fears, your regrets, your unhealed wounds, manifested before you. If the soul realizes this truth, that everything in this realm is a mirror of itself, it can break free from samsara, the endless cycle of birth and death. But if fear takes over, If the soul believes the illusions are real, it sinks deeper into the next phase. 3. Sidpa Bardo, the rebirth process. At this stage, the window for liberation is closing. The visions fade, and something else takes control. Karma. Every thought, every action, and every choice made in the past life now dictates what comes next. Good karma leads to higher realms. Perhaps a life of wisdom, peace, or even a chance to reach enlightenment. Bad karma pulls the soul downward, into suffering, into struggle, into ignorance. Then the final moment arrives. The soul sees its future parents. It doesn't recognize them, but something deeper does. A force beyond thought pulls the soul toward them. An unconscious attraction, an unbreakable bond. And in that moment, the cycle begins again. But is escape possible? Can one break free from this endless loop? The ancient monks believed there was a way, and in the next section, we uncover their secret. Part 2. Chikhai Bardo, the moment of death. What happens when we die? Is it instant darkness? A final breath into nothingness? Or something else entirely? In the ancient teachings of Tibetan Buddhism, death is not destruction, it is transition, and the soul's journey doesn't end at the last heartbeat. It begins. The very first moment after life ends marks the entry into Chikhai Bardo, the realm between this world and what lies beyond. The moment consciousness detaches. One instant you are here, breathing, feeling, thinking. The next, you're not. But it's not frightening. There is no pain, no struggle, just a strange lightness, a subtle release. Consciousness detaches from the body like mist rising from a lake. At first, there may be confusion. The world becomes silent, expanded, surreal. Some describe it as an out-of-body experience, watching their lifeless form below, unable to speak, yet fully aware. Others feel themselves being pulled forward, drawn into a vast space beyond comprehension. Time no longer applies. The rules of the physical world begin to dissolve. And then, the light appears. Not just any light, but a blazing white radiance, infinite and pure. This is not metaphor. According to the Bardo Thodol, this light is the true nature of reality, the unfiltered, divine consciousness from which all things arise. And in this moment, the gate to instant liberation stands open. For the soul who recognizes this light, there is no fear, no hesitation, only merging. To dissolve into that brilliance is to transcend the cycle. No more rebirth, no more illusion, only the boundless freedom of awakening. But for most souls, the light is too much, too intense, too foreign, still clinging to identity, to ego. The soul turns away. Some feel as if they are falling, others drift into darkness, searching for something familiar. And in that single moment of resistance, the opportunity is lost. The light fades, the veil descends, and the true journey begins. Phowa, the art of conscious dying. This is why Tibetan monks dedicate their lives to a sacred discipline, Phowa, the transference of consciousness. It is not a ritual of death. It is a training for liberation. Through meditation, visualization, and breath control, monks rehearse the moment of dying, so that when the light comes, they will know it, they will recognize it, and they will not turn away. This is why, in monasteries across the Himalayas, some monks die with a smile, no fear, no tension, only serenity, because for them, death is not a tragedy. It is the sacred passage they have long prepared for. But what about those who are not prepared? What happens to those who resist the light, who cling to memory, identity, attachment? If the soul cannot recognize the truth in that first instant, then the real journey begins. A journey through illusion, through fear, through the deepest layers of the self. And that journey awaits in the next realm. Part 3. Chonyid Bardo, the realm of illusions. The light has faded. The moment of liberation has passed. What remains is silence. And in that silence, the soul drifts into a realm unlike anything it has ever known. A world without gravity, without time, where reality bends and thought becomes form. This is Chonyid Bardo, the second stage of the afterlife, the realm of illusions. And here, the soul is no longer just an observer. It becomes the creator, whether consciously or not, because in this realm, the mind is the master architect. Desires, fears, memories. They don't just appear, they become the world. Visions of gods and demons. At first there is light, there is grace. The soul encounters 42 peaceful deities, radiant beings that emanate compassion, patience, and wisdom. They are not here to judge. They are not here to test. They are simply here to remind the soul of what it truly is. Each deity is a living symbol, a reflection of the soul's higher self. They represent the virtues we cultivated in life: altruism, clarity, kindness, love, and for the prepared soul. These visions are not frightening, they are familiar. There is no resistance, no fear, only recognition. And in that recognition, the path to enlightenment remains open, but for those still clinging to ego, still clouded by doubt. The beauty cannot hold, the visions shift. Suddenly the light dims, the peace dissolves, and in its place, the storm arrives. Now 58 wrathful deities emerge. Their forms are terrifying, fanged, horned, armed with weapons and fire. Their voices thunder across the void. Their presence shakes the fabric of this realm. But they are not enemies. They are not demons in the traditional sense. They are projections of the soul's inner world. Each terrifying figure represents something buried: shame, guilt, unforgiven wounds, the shadow self unleashed. Most souls panic. They run. They scream. They try to escape the horror. But in this dimension, what you resist becomes more real. What you fear gains power. The more the soul struggles against these beings, the more solid and terrifying they become. This is not punishment. It is a mirror, a divine test, not of morality, but of awareness, the ultimate truth. And here lies the most profound teaching of Tibetan mysticism. None of this is real in the way we think it is. The peaceful deities, reflections of our inner light. The wrathful deities, manifestations of our inner darkness. They are not gods, not external judges. They are you. They are your mind, showing you everything it contains: the known, the hidden, and the forgotten. If the soul realizes this, truly sees through the illusion, then everything dissolves. The gods vanish. The demons fade. The mirror shatters, and in that instant, the soul awakens. Liberation is once again possible. But if fear takes hold, if the illusions are mistaken for reality, then the soul becomes trapped in its own projections. Karma begins to crystallize. The past gains weight, and the downward pull begins. The illusions solidify into destiny, and the door to freedom begins to close. The soul is no longer choosing. It is being pulled, and just like that, the path to rebirth is set in motion. Part 4. Sidpa Bardo, the rebirth process. The journey through death is nearly complete. The soul has passed through the moment of departure, Chikhai Bardo, where the radiant light of enlightenment shone for a fleeting instant. It has wandered through the dreamlike illusions of Chonyid Bardo, where gods and demons, projections of its own mind, rose and fell. But now, a deeper truth emerges. The soul did not awaken, the chance for liberation has slipped away, and something else takes over. Karma. The soul is no longer steering the path. It is being carried, drawn forward, not by will, but by the invisible current of its past choices. This is Sidpa Bardo, the final stage of the afterlife, the threshold before rebirth. The cycle continues. At first, there is stillness. The chaos has faded. The visions have vanished. The soul now floats in a quiet in-between. Not in peace, not in fear, but in a strange, weightless waiting. If it had recognized the light in Chikhai, or seen through the illusions of Chonyid, this would have been the moment of release. A final breath into infinity, a return to the source. No more birth, no more death, just freedom, but that door has closed. And for most souls, rebirth is not a punishment. It is an inevitability. Tibetan masters describe this as being carried by the winds of karma. Some feel like they're drifting through a vast, silent void. Others sense a force pulling them forward, as if moving through a tunnel of energy towards something unknown. There is no more decision, no more free will, only momentum, because karma is not a judge, it is a mirror, reflecting not what we hope to be, but what we truly were. Every thought, every word, every intention now takes shape and becomes the gravitational force pulling the soul toward its next life. Where will the soul go next? This is the moment when destiny crystallizes. If the soul lived with love, awareness, and integrity, it may rise to higher realms, a more awakened human life, or something beyond human altogether. But if the soul lived in ignorance, cruelty, or attachment, it is drawn downward, toward suffering, toward confusion, toward a realm of limitation and darkness. This is not reward, this is not punishment, it is simply cause and effect. The wheel turns because the soul set it in motion, and now it returns to where it must continue the work. The final vision before rebirth. Then the final vision appears. Two figures, unfamiliar, and yet deeply magnetic. The soul cannot name them, but something ancient inside recognizes them. A pull begins, not of emotion, but of karmic gravity. These two beings are its future parents, bound not by chance, but by threads of karma woven across lifetimes. The soul draws closer, faster, until, in a single, irreversible instant, it enters. before it can remember the journey it has just taken, before it can grasp the lessons, before it can speak, cry, or resist. The veil falls, and the cycle begins again. Just like that, another life is set in motion. Part 5. How Understanding. Bardo changes your life. We spend years preparing for our careers, for relationships, for success, for survival. But how many of us prepare for the one event that is absolutely certain? Death? In Tibetan Buddhism, death is not the enemy, it is not the end. It is a transition dash, a moment of great possibility and profound choice. And the key to navigating that transition is awareness. By understanding the Bardo, we replace fear with clarity. We trade confusion for conscious preparation. Because what happens after death isn't just about fate. It's about readiness. If we prepare for death as carefully as we prepare for life, we can change what happens after we die. And Tibetan monks believe not only can we do this, we must. They spend their entire lives mastering 3 sacred practices, each one designed to prepare the soul, elevate karma, and guide consciousness through the unseen world. 1. Phowa meditation, the art of conscious dying. Phowa, transference of consciousness, is one of the most sacred and guarded practices in Tibetan Buddhism. Its purpose is simple, yet profound: to die with awareness. Through deep meditation and visualization, monks train their minds to remain conscious at the moment of death, to recognize the shift and move directly toward the light, rather than being swept away by fear, regret, or clinging. Some advanced masters have even been known to choose the exact moment of their passing, entering death with full clarity and control. For them, death is not a collapse. It is a ritual, a practiced art, a sacred doorway they have rehearsed again and again, because when the moment comes, they do not flinch. They walk through it, awake. 2. Raising vibrational energy, preparing for a better rebirth. But not everyone is ready for liberation, and that's okay. There is another path, preparing for a better next life. According to Buddhist teaching, karma is not judgment, it's reflection, it's resonance. Whatever energy we cultivate in this life becomes the soil for the next. Raise your vibration, and you rise. Lower it, and the cycle brings struggle. To elevate your karmic energy, Tibetan monks practice meditation, to calm the mind and cut attachment. Compassion, to generate pure, positive karma through service. Mindfulness, to act with awareness instead of impulse. These are not abstract virtues. They are energetic technologies, and every time you choose love over fear, kindness over ego, presence over distraction, you shape the next step of your soul's path. 3. Lucid dreaming and Bardo meditation, rehearsing the transition. Perhaps the most radical Tibetan insight is this: you can rehearse death before it comes. Through lucid dreaming, the mind remains conscious while dreaming, navigating surreal realms with full awareness. This is almost identical to the experience of Chonyid Bardo, where visions arise that feel real, but are born of the mind. By training awareness in dreams, you train for the afterlife. Likewise, through Bardo meditation, monks visualize their own death, watching their breath slow, their body dissolve, their mind detach, not to simulate fear, but to embrace impermanence, to prepare the soul for the real passage ahead. If you practice dying now, you will not fear it when the time comes. Final reflection. Are you ready? We prepare for every phase of life, childhood, career, retirement. But we ignore the one transition that is guaranteed. And yet, when that moment arrives, what will truly matter? Not your wealth, not your status, not the image you created for the world. Only one thing remains, your awareness. The clarity you've cultivated, the inner light you've grown, because when the body falls away, that is all you carry forward. So the real question is not, what happens when I die? The question is, will you be ready? Final CTA. Transition to video 21. Next video, is this world a simulation? Ancient texts versus modern science. What if everything you see, touch and experience is nothing more than an illusion? Throughout history, philosophers, mystics and scientists have asked the same question. Is reality real? In the next episode, we dive deep into ancient spiritual texts and modern simulation theory, exploring eerie parallels between the wisdom of the past and the discoveries of today. From the Hindu concept of Maya, which describes the world as an illusion, to Plato's cave, where shadows deceive the mind, to quantum physics, where particles behave as if existence itself is uncertain. What if everything, your memories, your identity, your entire reality, is nothing more than a highly sophisticated illusion? Could we be living in a cosmic simulation without even knowing it? Join us as we question the nature of reality itself.